Hello and welcome back to Saxon Math. This is lesson 114, unit multipliers. Before we jump into this, I just wanted to remind you that fractions such as 3 over 3 equal 1 and let's say 112 over 112 equals 1. You can see that as long as they're equivalent amounts on the numerator and the denominator, you're going to have an equivalent to 1. That's what unit multipliers are going to be a lot like. So keep that in mind as we move along through this. A unit multiplier is a fraction that equals 1, and that is written with two different units of measure. Recall that when the numerator and the denominator of a fraction are equal and are not 0, the fraction equals 1. Since 1 foot equals 12 inches, we can form two unit multipliers with the measures 1 foot and 12 inches. 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. These are both equal, and they're both unit multipliers that are equal to 1. This is considered a unit multiplier, and this is another unit multiplier. Each of these fractions equals 1 because the numerator and the denominator of each fraction are equal. We can use unit multipliers to help us convert from one unit of measure to another. If we want to convert 60 inches to feet, we can multiply 60 inches by the unit multiplier 1 foot over 12 inches. Because we want to convert to feet, we want to make sure that that unit multiplier has feet in the numerator. Why would we do that? Because when you have such a thing as this, inches cancels out inches, and all you're left with is feet as the label, and we wanted it to be converted to feet. So we had to use the unit multiplier 1 foot over 12 inches as opposed to 12 inches over 1 foot. If we would have used 12 inches over 1 foot, we would have had a weird label of inches, square inches over feet, and that's not what we're looking for here. We're trying to convert to feet, and that's it. So notice, inches in the numerator, inches in the denominator, cancel each other out. Now all you'd be left with is 60 over 1 times 1 foot over 12. That's all that would be remaining. If you were to multiply this straight across, you'd get 60, and then in the denominator, you'd end up with 12, and your label would still be feet because there's no label down here that would cancel out that feet. And 60 divided by 12 is 5. If you were to guess and check, you'd get to that point if you didn't already know it, and it's 5 feet for the final answer. All right, let's look at a few examples here. So write two unit multipliers using these equivalent measures. So if you have 3 feet and 1 yard, you can write that 3 feet, and if you didn't know this already, but 3 feet equals 1 yard. So you have 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. You can do one unit multiplier that looks just like that, or you can do another unit multiplier that would look like this, 1 yard to 3 feet. Those are the two unit multipliers that you can create using the knowledge that 3 feet equals 1 yard. This would be the unit multiplier I would use if I was trying to convert some yards into feet. So if I had like 12 yards and I wanted to convert that to feet, I would take 12 yards times 3 feet over 1 yard. The yards would cancel each other out, and I'd be left with 12 times 3, which is 36, and I would know that that's 36 feet. If I was trying to convert feet to yards, let's say it's 36 feet, I would want to multiply it times 1 yard over 36 over 3 feet. Feet cancels it out. All I'd be left with is yards then for my label, and 36 divided by 3 would be 12. Which unit multiplier would you use to convert 30 yards to feet? So that's in essence what I just explained there. Because I want to go 2 feet, because I want to convert it to feet, I want my numerator to be feet. So I need to use the unit multiplier where it's 3 feet is to 1 yard. So I want that unit multiplier in order to convert it to feet, because it started with 30 yards. So if I was going to multiply it by 30 yards, I see that this would be 30 over 1. Yards cancels out yards, and then I would be left with 3 times 30, which would be 90 feet. So that's what I would do. So you can use the equivalent measures to write two fractions equal to 1. So remember, this was equal to 1. 3 feet divided by 1 yard is the same as 1. And 1 yard divided by 3 feet also equals 1. We want the units we are changing from to appear in the denominator. So if I'm moving from, in this case, I was moving from yards, I need to make sure that that appears in the denominator when I'm choosing my unit multiplier. And the units we are changing to will appear in the numerator. So keep that in mind. So to convert 30 yards to feet, we use the unit multiplier that has yards in the denominator and feet in the numerator. And then you can show the work. Yards cancels itself out, and you're just left with 30 times 3, and then your label would be feet. All right, let's try some of these. So write 2 unit multipliers for these equivalent measures. So in this case, you see that 1 gallon is equivalent to 4 quarts. It almost gives you the answer, but now all you need to do is create a unit multiplier. So you've got 1 gallon is in the numerator, and you could have 4 quarts in the denominator. That is 1 unit multiplier. Another unit multiplier that would actually be equal, because they would both be equal to 1, would be 4 quarts over 1 gallon. So you can have that as a unit multiplier, or this. You've got 2 different unit multipliers for those measurements. Which unit multiplier from problem A would you use to convert 12 gallons to quarts? So we want to go from gallons to quarts. Remember from the previous slide that it said that we needed to take the unit that we're going from and multiply it by a unit multiplier that has that in the denominator. So we want to choose this unit multiplier. So we would want to have 4 quarts over 1 gallon as the unit multiplier when multiplying by 12 gallons to find out what the equivalent quarts would be. And then you see the gallons would cancel each other off, and all I'd be left with is 4 times 12 in this case, which would be 48, and then the label would be quarts. So in letter C, write 2 unit multipliers for these equivalent measures. So for 1 meter equaling 100 centimeters, 1 unit multiplier would be 1 meter over 100 centimeters. The other unit multiplier would be 100 centimeters over 1 meter. So this is 1 unit multiplier, this is the other unit multiplier for those equivalent measures. Letter D, which unit multiplier from C would you use to convert 200 centimeters to meters? So again, if I'm going from 200 centimeters and I need to multiply it by a unit multiplier, which one would I choose if I want to convert that centimeters into meters? Well, consider this. I want centimeters to go away and I want meters to be remaining. So the unit multiplier that I choose needs to have centimeters in the denominator, because 200 is the same as 200 over 1. So this is like 200 in the numerator, centimeters in the numerator, over 1 in the denominator. So I need to have my unit multiplier have the meters in the numerator and the centimeters in the denominator. Once I've done that, now I notice that I could end up with this. I could have, if I multiplied this straight across, I'd have 200 times centimeters times meters divided by 100 centimeters. Or I could just notice right off the bat that this is in the numerator. This cancels this out. I can also notice this. These two zeros take out these two zeros. It's like having 100 divided by both of those. And I'd end up with 2 times 1 in the numerator, which is 2, and 1 times 1 in the denominator, which is 1. And there's no centimeters left, but there is a meters left. So the label would simply be meters, and that would be our answer if we were to convert from the unit multiplier in C, 200 centimeters, 2 meters. All right, letter E, use a unit multiplier to convert 12 quarts to gallons. So here are our unit multipliers that we did for quarts and gallons. So we need to use one of those to convert from 12 quarts to gallons. So we want to make sure that the gallons is going to be in the numerator. So in this case, I would have 12 quarts over 1 times 1 gallon over 4 quarts. Why did I choose this unit multiplier? Because I can see this quarts cancels this quarts out. All I'm going to be left with is gallons in the answer. And that was what I needed to convert it to. It said gallons. So now I can do the math. I could do 12 times 1 and get 12, and 1 times 4 and get 4, and recognize that this is in the numerator, this is in the denominator. That means 12 divided by 4. Or I could do some cross multiplying before I do that. If these were bigger numbers, I'd want to do that. But I know what 12 divided by 4 is. I know that that's 3. So I know my answer is 3 gallons is what 12 quarts is equivalent to. Letter F, use a unit multiplier to convert 200 meters to centimeters. So let me just do that right here. If I have 200 meters and I need to convert that to centimeters, I'm going to remind myself that centimeters needs to be in the numerator. So I would have to have a unit multiplier from meters to centimeters. I know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So I need to use these two measures for my unit multiplier. So in this case, I see that I want centimeters, so I'm going to use 100 centimeters in the numerator, and I'm going to use 1 meter in the denominator. Why? Because I'm going from meters to centimeters. Centimeters is my final label that I wish to have, and if I put that switched around, I won't have centimeters as my final label, but I will in this case. So now I have 200 times 100 divided by 1. I notice the meters cancels this meters out, and I'm left with 200 times 100, which ends up being 2,000, or is it 20,000? Sorry, 20,000, and it would be centimeters. That would be the label, because this would be 200 times 100, which equals 20,000, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 2 times 1 is 2. So that's what I end up with there, and my label is centimeters. All right, go ahead and try letter G. Use a unit multiplier to convert 60 feet to yards. And they gave us 1 yard equals 3 feet. That's not a unit multiplier. Remember, unit multipliers would be 1 yard in the numerator and 3 feet in the denominator, or it could be 3 feet in the numerator and 1 yard in the denominator. So either one of those would be the ones that I have to use. The best one when going from feet to yards means I need feet in the denominator, so that cancels itself out. So 60 feet over 1 times, this one would have to be 1 yard over 3 feet. So I see feet cancels out feet, and now I have 60 times 1, which is 60, divided by 3, which I know to be 20. And that would be yards would be the final label. All right, that's it for today, guys. Nice job, and make sure you do written practice 1 through 30, and we will see you tomorrow.